primary pollutant that Newtown Township is mandated to remove from our streams through our MS4 plan. So best practices regarding riparian buffers. The benefits of a riparian buffer is directly proportional to its width. Now, if you scroll, well, here, for example, is a very dramatic aerial shot of a body of water, a river flowing into a bay, and the brown part is the sediment or the erosion that has washed away from streams that did not have a sufficient buffer after a strong rainstorm. And that's all sediment. That's lost topsoil, that's eroded stream banks, and that sediment flows into this water, and it is very harmful to aquatic life. And unfortunately, after we get our 6 inches of rain tomorrow from the hurricane, I think you will see similar pictures to this. And if you notice local streams, the day after a rainstorm, they are usually brown and cloudy. That is unhealthy, and that is the result of erosion. So best practices for a riparian buffer, this is not one of them. This is what you don't want to do. So there you have cows, and this is an agricultural situation. You have cows right in the water, defecating, getting E. coli in the water. That's not a good scenario. Here is also a picture of what you do not want to have. This is not Drexel Lodge Park, but it looks a lot like Drexel Lodge Park because you have grass coming right down to the stream. And you can see here, they've maybe tried to put riprap in here to counteract the impact of erosion from storm surges, from the flash flooding that happens. And here is an eroded stream bank, again, due to the velocity and the volume of water that hits here after a big rainstorm. This, unfortunately, is what the entrance to Fox's Run in Greer Park. I was over there the other day. This, if you look up behind the entrance dam, this is what it looks like, only worse, all gouged out. And if you go to Brookside Park, this is what Fox's Run looks like there. So here you have zero riparian buffer. The best practices are 100 feet. Delaware Riverkeeper says that 100-foot buffer is best for protecting water quality and preventing and removing erosion. Now, buffers from 300 to 1,000 feet really provide the greatest level of protection for waterways and habitat. The DCNR, the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation of Natural Resources, recommends a minimum overall buffer of at least 35 feet. And I looked into another source, and the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission recommends that municipalities adopt legislation requiring minimum riparian buffer protection of at least 100 feet for all streams and 300 feet for high quality and exceptional value streams. You may not know, but every single stream in our state has been classified and has a designation according to categories that the DCNR sets, and the two highest quality are highest ranks are HQ, high quality, and exceptional value. So what happens when we fail to protect our buffers? I showed you pictures of that, and what happens is legacy land use decisions, such as building houses very close to streams, like if you've ever seen the house just north of the Gable field, soccer field, there's a house built about 10 or 12 feet from that stream, which should never have been allowed. But things like that happened. And then current landscaping practices of like mowing turf grass right up to a stream bank. And Sheila, you live on Fox's Run, and I imagine this is perhaps what a lot of those property owners do, is mow right up to the edge.
And they put the grass clippings in the water.
Okay, that's adding to the problem. And then we have there's recent and pending land use decisions in our township have granted relief permitting riparian buffers below the minimum of our township's recommended level of 50 feet. For example, there was new residential construction on Cali Road. A house was built just as you turn off Westchester or 252 up on the left by the headwaters of Fox's Run. Again, how that got approved, I don't know, but you have things like that home. You have the site development plans for the new Marriott Hotel on Westchester Pike. That proposes a retaining wall less than 50 feet from the stream. And then, of course, we mentioned the pending Fort Joy settlement agreement, in which many of the properties have already been granted exemption or reduced riparian buffers. So in terms of the costs of when we have these small riparian buffers, I showed you that picture which showed the pollution in the water. Tomorrow, we're going to experience a lot of flash flooding because we don't have these buffers to provide the natural protection. And there's an economic cost to flooding when properties get damaged. I want to show you the picture here of this picture. Where is this? I think maybe it's Springfield or Upper Darby. This was August 13th, 2018. You get flooding like this, again, when you don't have proper stormwater management, and riparian buffers are key to that. So how do we protect our riparian buffers? The current regulations at the state and the local level. At the local level, Newtown ordinances, riparian buffers are protected under Chapter 143, Stormwater Management, Article 3, which says that for perennial or intermittent streams, the landowner shall create a riparian buffer extending to a minimum of 50 feet on either side of the channel or lake or wetland, and that it should be planted with native vegetation and maintained in a vegetated state. Now, there are exceptions so the following provisions apply to riparian buffers on lots in existence on the time of the adoption of this chapter. The rear or side yard setbacks, the buffer could be reduced to 25 feet or 25% of the setback. And if a stream transverses a site in a manner that significantly reduces the use of the site, the buffer can be reduced to either 25 feet on either side with township approval or 10 feet with township waiver. And I don't know for sure, but I believe this is what Claude used to get the reduced buffer by the retaining wall with the Marriott Hotel. So at the state level, the state regulations do not protect riparian buffers except for the two highest level of stream designations, which we have no EV of the highest quality streams in our township. So they do not even protect streams that are designated as impaired. So what this means is that local regulation is critical. Pennsylvania municipalities have been empowered and mandated to keep water resources safe from degradation by both state law and federal law. And in the briefing sheet that I'm going to send you afterwards, those are cited. So realizing these deficiencies and the importance of riparian buffers, just last month, the DCNR launched a new Buffer My Stream program to educate and encourage landowners to plant streamside buffers. They're going to spend $1.5 million over the next 5 years, and their goal is to plant 95,000 acres of new riparian forest buffers. Now we can just scroll down here a little bit. I'll show you some other pictures. This is a little bit better because they've got a fence here keeping the cows away from the water. And here, this looks like Drexel Lodge Park, where you've got some forested buffer here, keeping, and just a narrow path down to the water. This is a little bit better because you've got vegetation and a fence back there. And this is a picture of a probably a revegetated stream where they have planted, or they've probably adopted a no-mow practice here. And then these tubes are small trees that they've planted. So the goal here is to allow the vegetation to return here through a no-mow strip, and then let these trees return and grow up. And then the goal hopefully is something like this. So what are our opportunities in Newtown Township? I see a lot of great opportunities for multiple benefits through synergistic action with other township initiatives in 4 areas: planning, community involvement, regulatory, and policy. In the planning area, we can expand the MS4 plan to include enhancement of riparian buffers on private properties that are upstream of the public areas that are already targeted for stream bank restoration. For example, the MS4 plan calls for stream bank restoration in Brookside Park on township property, but if we can engage homeowners to install riparian buffers on Fox's Run between Greer Park and Brookside Park, you'll have a synergistic effect there. And Sheila, I think it'd be great if you haven't already to include riparian buffer restoration in the Greer Park Master Plan. I think it's probably already in there.
Yes, actually, and the goal for that would we are to take advantage of MS4. We're looking, hopefully, if God willing, we could have 125 trees is what we're trying to target in Greer Park. And as we said, majority of them will be within the riparian buffer.
That's great.
Hopefully, let's just say we can get it paid for.
Yeah. And the second area I alluded to, which is community involvement, and we can encourage homeowners across the township who live on these small first order streams to plant buffers in their backyard. I think we can provide information, and perhaps we can even provide some sort of financial incentives depending on how the MS4 budget is parsed out. And obviously engage homeowners in helping to plant some of these 1,000 trees that are in the MS4 plan, that some of these could be along their backyards. Third area is regulatory. As you noticed earlier, there are recommendations. Oh, did I skip a whole page? No. No, I think I already said that the comprehensive plan in the natural resources protection area, oh, sorry, it's right here. In the third area, regulatory, we can expand regulatory protection of riparian buffers. This is already recommended in the 2016 Newtown Township Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 6, Section 6. It calls for riparian and wetland buffers to have a minimum of 1 foot, 100 feet buffer. And finally, hopefully we can make some policy improvements where we can engage and inform with township officials, the planning commission, the zoning hearing board, and share this type of information with them. That's all I have for now. I can take questions, and also the document that I spoke from, I'm going to share with everyone afterwards, and there are several links to educational resources and links to possible funding sources.
Well done.
That was excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
I would note, and I might argue that after listening to you, it's not far enough yet, but the zoning, as part of the zoning rewrite, the zoning rewrite committee is actually recommending going to a two-zone approach for buffers, and stating that there's no disturbance in that 35 feet that you mentioned early, but increasing it up to 100, and that if there is disturbance within that 100, that it would be not more than 20%. So it's better than it has been, but we may want to reevaluate that a little bit more based on your information, Cindy.
Well, thanks, Steve. And would that cover new developments or existing properties?
The way we're writing it, we're putting it in the zoning. We're moving it out of new development and we're putting it under zoning so that it involves all properties. Obviously, if something's already in existence, we can't make them change, but we can keep them from doing something going forward.
That's great. Mm-hmm.
So we are looking at that, but taking what you just said, we may want to, if the board is willing, we may want to be a little bit more aggressive on it.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew that riparian buffers were important, but I think it's really telling that DCNR has come out with this new initiative just last month. Yep. Thanks to Bruce for letting me know about that. And I mean, they have a whole web page where they it's called Buffer My Stream, and you can here, how do I buffer my stream?
Wow.
And they have a contact form, which I filled out and sent in. I haven't heard from anybody yet. You can call this number to arrange for a site visit. They have a buffer fact sheet, and they, we could get copies of this printed out and shared with people. And here's kind of a zoned approach here, just like you were talking about. So that's all I have.
Cindy, I thought everything was well done. That was an excellent presentation. I would also like to be a part of the community involvement, because I think you've given a lot of great information, and if we can help share and disseminate this information with everyone. I did talk briefly with Steve, maybe of some ways if we could provide initiatives with making residents, the naturalize your yard and caring for your streamside property, but just like you said, that buffering, sharing that out, maybe to individual, if we target certain areas, especially like right now, Greer Park and Brookside, around that area, and making people aware of their personal responsibility. So if we could maybe get whether we go door to door or we do mailings or something through the community involvement, I would want to be a part of that. I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, no, I'd be glad to work with you on that.
And a community buffer day where we go out and get together and kind of restore a particular stretch of one of our streams.
Yeah, well, there's a really interesting opportunity for community engagement, and that's a technique called live staking. Some of you might have heard me mention it, and that is where it's very amenable to volunteer involvement. It's very economical, and what you do is you take sections of like willow or red twig dogwood stems that are maybe 3 feet long and about the diameter of a pencil, which you can buy for $1 a piece, or you can cut them out of your own backyard. And you just insert these sticks, these like live stakes, which have absolutely no leaves on them.
Or roots.
But these are species that root readily. And there are whole webinars and trainings where you can get a bunch of volunteers out there one day in their boots and stick these stakes into a stream bank. And within a couple of years, these stakes will have taken hold, and it can be all vegetated with native plants.
Great opportunity, especially if signage is involved, so people know what's going on.
Yes, yep.
Not on the subject of this discussion, but in terms of allotting 15 minutes every meeting for something along these lines, a presentation like this, Do people think that's a good idea to
Yes.
continue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, next we'll move to new business, or we're on new business. We'll talk about other townships grant funding projects. Sarah, we have access to an intern this summer. Unfortunately, it's very limited access. She's busy. And, you know, there's a lot that's unknown about schedule, and she's a college student. But she's agreed to work with me to look at grants, environmental grants that have been received by our neighboring townships so that we can get hooked into bidding on those opportunities, because most often they are an annual grant cycle. So she's going back to school shortly, but we're going to get together and see what she's come up with, and I'll publish a list of some fashion so we can be jealous, first of all, and secondly, we'll have some new funding agencies that we can perhaps deal with. One of the funding, just as a side, Radnor just got $250,000 for propane bus pilot project, which I think is, you know, an excellent use of the $250,000.
I think the students at the high school also got solar panels for their high school.
Did they really? I
Right.
wonder if our school system is doing anything in the environmental area.
How do we find out?
Yeah, I can look into that. I'll look into it. Next,
Radnor has a full-time grant writer, which is something that we've talked before about, which is very helpful. It allows them, somebody whose job it is, to go out and acquire these. So, I mean, I know right now in the budget, we don't have it, but a full-time grant writer would really be helpful.
Yep.
And if we could look into that.
I can ask Matt Bilker, who's the school board president, if they're doing anything since I got off in December, if there's anything new that they're working on.
Great. Thank you, Leonard. Next thing I have is Friends of the EAC. I'm starting to build a list of people that have strong issue or interest in environmental issues, and we're going to I will put together a mailing list to invite them to our meetings and any other activity we might have going on. The list is short right now. It's about eight individuals. So we're trying to build that list, but we're not going to over publish to these folks. To probably share some of the communications that we have. That's Friends of the EAC. Next one, this is a cut and paste problem. We already discussed strategic plan driven activities. And the last one I have is, I'd like to get some guests here too. If we could get some guests to do some of our 15-minute presentations, I think it would be, you know, add some value to the folks that join us. And I think it'd be educational for us as well.
So would we like to listen to Ready for 100 again? Do we need another review of how we could get started and really bring this forward?
Why don't we put that on the next agenda? Because we've been talking about that off and on, and
Yes.
you're right, we haven't taken any action. So let's put it on next meeting agenda, and we'll discuss what actions we need to take for that certification.
Would you like me to invite somebody for our next meeting?
That would be wonderful.
All right, well, I know we meet, the Delco Ready for 100 meets the third Monday of the month.
Mhm.
So perhaps I can get somebody scheduled for the September meeting, if not by the October meeting.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to get people these days when all they have to do is walk over to their computer and
Yes.
participate.
Yes.
I have a guy that would like the opportunity to present. He's in the business of converting properties to native meadows and landscapes, and he'd welcome the opportunity to present to us. So I can run him down too. talk
Great.
about what's involved. Any other new business?
I'm sorry, just a reminder, since you're talking about possibly bringing somebody in at the next meeting will be the 8th, which is a Tuesday
Okay.
and not a Monday because of Labor Day.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Looking for additional comments or questions at this point.
I think Janet was the one that asked about the township building and being opened up and what we're doing. We are working with the library and talking about possibility of when to do that. Currently, we're wanting to kind of get through the summer without doing anything, both the library and the township, in regards to, I mean, we're doing full business. Anybody comes in, in regards to dropping things off, we're picking everything up multiple times a day. So we're here and working and doing that. We're just not having anybody in the building at this point. The library is also in the same spot. One of their challenges is they have a little bit of limit on resources. They've got a couple people who do not feel comfortable being in if there's public coming in. So we're going to look and evaluate that in the beginning of September and take another look. And it would be presented at the September 14th meeting of the board about whether or not we would open up the building. One of the challenges that we have, limiting it to 25 people for an event and things, it's a little bit of a challenge. Just even tonight, I was looking, we've been fluctuating between 11 and 12 people throughout the evening. And, this is a small group. When we start looking at having a board meeting, I think we figured out that we needed 12, close to 12 people to even just get the process going and just something going on. And so it limits the number of people that would be able to attend a meeting and things like that. And so, and though we're not required to stick to as a township, I'm not required to stick to the governor's guidelines. It's kind of hard for me to say I can do something that I tell a business that they can't. We've just kind of taken that approach.
Mhm.
And so, we're trying to be very careful in that. Obviously, we have opened up the parks. We have opened up, the basketball courts and things like that for people who want to do that. We ask people to be smart. We ask people to wear their masks when they're not playing, those kind of things. And so that's where we are with those things. And even the LPGA is supposed to have an event here. We're supposed to be in June. They're going to bring it in October, but it looks like there won't be any spectators even for that. So we will evaluate it again. Obviously the board could evaluate it even in August here at their meeting, but we've kind of been saying as long as things are working the way they are, we're actually able to do everything that we committed to do as a government. And in some ways, I'm actually having more people attend public meetings. And so that's actually been a good thing. We've had quite a few folks just attend regularly, just almost every one of our meetings. That in the past, sometimes we'd be as few as 2 or 3 people from the public. And now we have more than that. And so it's kind of, we are going to go back to being in person, but there is some benefit to really be said about having done it virtually. But anything that somebody needs from the township, we are here every day. We are taking calls, we're answering calls, we're answering emails, permits are being issued, payments are being taken, all of that's being done on a daily basis.
Do you know the incident of COVID in Newtown Square?
I haven't pulled it up recently. I think we had crossed, I'd be honest with you, I've kind of forgotten what the exact number was. It was pretty significant. I know we're over 100 cases within the community. I think we're over 150, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to look it up at the numbers again. I think we were up to, like I said, it's been a bit since I've been watching it, and to be honest with you, the county kind of changed how they were doing reporting, and when they changed how they were doing reporting, I lost a little bit of confidence in it. So
Interesting.
I stopped taking
Paying attention.
paying attention when I lost confidence in how it was being done.
Okay, if there's no further comments, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we finished early, and that's a good thing. So stay tuned. We're gonna do some follow-up, and I appreciate everybody attending tonight.
And guys, don't
Yeah.
forget every Thursday night is Parks and Rec does the free yoga and fitness in the park. So please share that information. I put it on all the social media, but please share it if you can, just because the more the merrier. And it's been a great success. So let's keep it positive in the township.
This is Francie Strathman. Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Oh,
Oh, hi there. Sorry,
Francie.
I put my hand up, didn't know whether it was okay. First of all, I just want to thank you for, all the work this committee does. But I did want to make a comment regarding the comprehensive plan, and along with Cindy's mention of the core habitat, with the Springton Reservoir. And it's really just a comment of that the township plan has so many numerous initiatives and concerns and recommendations, and the sections on expected outcomes, and they're regarding the environment and ordinances and codes and zoning, and there are so many that are diametrically opposed to the Fort Joy settlement agreement. And it's just really confusing to hear all of this great work and the talk and the comprehensive plan regarding the buffers and zoning rewrites and all this work. And then we have this settlement. So it has us as landowners right next to all of this really confused. And Cindy, your education on the buffers is so great, and just sitting above what we call Carson Cove or Hunter's Run, which is dark at bright browns after any rain, and that's actually been since Springton Point Estates went in, to be honest. That runs along our, the runoff runs along our driveway down into the reservoir, and then also from Debutan's Marple side of the development, it's just a mud puddle, that whole cove after any kind of rain. So I'm just venting a little, but I want to just thank you for at least thinking about all of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Yes.
Steve, is there anyone else out there that might want to have a comment?
I'm not seeing anyone else.
Okay. Well, great. I'll say it again. This meeting's over, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Great month. Bye-bye, guys.
Summer.